Today in Review This Thing, we are going to compare these 5 410 TSS turkey loads. This is Adrienne with Review This Thing, where our goal is to always bring you the most honest, thorough, unbiased, unpaid reviews on YouTube. So the past couple of years, there has been quite the craze about turkey hunting with a 410. Apparently, it's what all the cool kids are doing, so of course I had to see what all the fuss was about. One reason for the recent increased hype of 410 turkey hunting is the popularity of TSS turkey loads. If you've watched our channel much, we've done a few different videos. First, we compared Apex TSS loads in a 20 gauge to non-TSS loads, and that's pretty much where we got hooked. So then last year, we took a look at the 3 different Apex loads, and then we tried out the brand new Verdict loads in 20 gauge as well. Both Apex and Verdict are basically hand-loaded in the USA, which of course we love, and we've had really good results hunting with them the past few years, so we knew we wanted those to be in our test. And then I found 3 other 410 TSS loads that I actually was able to just pick up in gun stores. For this test, we are going to use a Mossberg 500 pump action that I bought just a few months ago. I'm really excited to test it out and see what it'll do. We also put a Burris Fastfire 3 on top, and we switched out the stock choke that came with that Mossberg to a TrueLock 385 turkey choke. If you turkey hunt with a 410, let us know your whole setup. Comment below what gun, what red dot, if you use one, what choke, and what load have you found is your favorite. Now, as far as testing parameters today, we wanted to take each load out and just see what kind of pattern we could get at 20 yards first. And then we said we push it a little bit further. We're going to take it out to 40 yards and we're going to test penetration as well as pattern. So we're really looking forward to it. It should be pretty fun and it should be pretty interesting. So let's see what these 410 TSS loads can do. So we went ahead and started our test at 20 yards with Apex Turkey Ninjas. At 20 yards, I would say that these definitely have a very impressive pattern. There are a lot of pellets in the center of that pattern. You can see it's a little low, so if it was up higher, we would have a ton of kill shots on that turkey. When we finish the test, we're probably going to need to move that red dot, but let's just keep it there for now and let it play out. All right, next, let's see what the Federal Premium Heavyweight TSS can do. So the Federal, Fiocchi, and Remington are all 9-shot, and the Verdict and Apex are 9.5. So because of that, you can see that there don't appear to be quite as many pellets in that Federal load as there were in the Apex. That Federal pattern isn't bad at 20 yards. It's obviously not as tight as the Apex, but it's still going to be a dead turkey at 20. Next up are the Fiocchi Golden Turkey. This is actually a pretty impressive pattern out of this off-the-shelf load. Still not quite as tight as the Apex, but if your gun was sighted in with these Fiocchis, you're going to have no trouble killing that bird at 20 yards. All right, so we're 3 for 3 for dead turkeys at 20 yards. Next up are the Remington Premier TSS. That's definitely not a bad pattern either at 20 yards with those Remingtons. Again, it's not quite as tight as some of the others, and it doesn't look like there are quite as many holes in the paper, but at 20 yards, if you put the dot or the bead on that turkey's head, it's going down with that 410. And lastly, at 20 yards, we're going to use those Verdict rounds that I mentioned earlier. I think Verdict is a pretty new brand, maybe even new last year, so you may not be as familiar with them. It's actually the load that I used last year when I killed my turkey with a 20 gauge. I think it was about 35 yards out, and I actually had to shoot through a small tree, and it had no trouble taking care of business. So we're pretty excited to see what they do in 410. So let's check it out. So yeah, I'd say another pretty impressive pattern at 20 yards with those Verdict 410s. We're definitely still a little low and right, but we're going to keep it right there and finish our test up, mainly just to keep consistency throughout. And we'll just keep looking at size of pattern versus placement. So there are our results with the 410 loads at 20 yards. I think I'm going to have to say the Apex and the Verdict are very close, and they definitely have the tightest pattern. The Remingtons probably have the widest pattern, and the Federal and the Fiocchis were very close. But if you have any of those loads in your shotgun at 20 yards, it looks like you should be pretty successful as long as you make a good shot. All right, next we're really excited to see what these loads can do at 40 yards. We still want to see how close we can get that pattern, but we also wanted to check penetration. So we took 8 layers of cardboard, taped them together, and shot through that. We figured if pellets can make it through 8 layers of cardboard, they can probably make it through a turkey. So we'll start with the same ones we did at 20 yards. Let's go with the Apex Turkey Ninjas. That's still a great pattern, and that's definitely going to be a dead turkey at 40 yards. When we look at penetration, you can see that pretty much all of those pellets seem to make it through all 8 layers of cardboard. Now for the Federal Heavyweight TSS at 40 yards. I'd say that's not a bad pattern at all at 40 yards, especially if we turn it over and look at the pattern. It definitely looks like if it was sighted in for that gun and that pattern was moved to the turkey's head, we would have several kill shots right where we want them. Okay, let's check out the backside. Yep, definitely looks like most of those pellets made it through all 8 layers of cardboard. All right, now let's try the Fiocchi Golden Turkeys. Again, I'd say that's a pretty solid pattern out of those Fiocchis at 40 yards. There are plenty of pellets in that head and neck region, just the way that it's sighted in now. I think the Fiocchis are a pretty impressive off-the-shelf round for sure. Now let's check penetration. And again, it made it through all 8 layers of cardboard. Kind of seems like we maybe should have made it 10 or 12 layers just to give it a little bit of a challenge. Now for the Remington Premier TSS. Remember, at 20 yards, we said the Remington was probably the widest pattern. Still a dead turkey, but let's see what happens at 40 yards. So it seems to perform pretty similarly to how it did at 20 yards. You're definitely going to get a few kill shots if aimed correctly, but I feel like the pattern here is clearly wider than the others. And finally, let's see what these verdict shells can do. Well, you can see there those verdicts did not disappoint again at 40 yards. Definitely a tight pattern, lots of pellets on that target. Obviously though, you can see the center of our pattern is low and to the right, so we're definitely going to need to move that up closer to the turkey's head before we go hunting with it. So clearly any of these loads are going to get you the penetration that you want, even out to 40 yards. Pattern-wise, I think the verdicts were probably slightly better than the Apex, but both of those are going to be super deadly. The Remingtons I feel like were the widest pattern overall, and then the Fiocchis and the Federals were fairly close to the verdict and Apex, but not quite. Now my plan is to make sure the turkey's within 30-ish or closer yards, but I wanted to see how they would perform at 40, so if I happen to misjudge just a little bit, I could still have confidence that the load was going to do what I wanted to. Now that we're done with our testing, I wanted to make sure my gun was ready. I am planning on hunting with it in just a few weeks. So we took the verdict load since that's the one that seemed to be the tightest, and we got it dead in at 20 yards, and let's take a look. And there you have it. I think we can call that good and ready to go. Now we are going to be doing complete reviews on this Mossberg 500 as well as the Burris Fastfire 3. So you may want to subscribe so that you don't miss out on that. And hopefully we'll get to do some real world testing and you'll get to see some footage in at least one of those videos of us taking down a big old Tom with this setup. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching our 410 TSS load test video. While you're here, check out our other TSS load videos and whatever other videos you like. Make sure you check out our website, reviewthisthingtv.com. Subscribe to our newsletter there for deals and more information. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can also listen to our podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.